Hi there and welcome. It's time for Physical Sciences. My name is Tinyiko Kosa and this is our first lesson of the year 2012. And let me tell you how it's going to be like. We understand that metric is actually a 3-year study. So we take it from grade 10 to 12. So today the lesson, which is lesson number 1, is based on the atomic structure and organic chemistry. Let's kick it. Now, the atom, that's where we're going to start. What is an atom? Okay, an atom is the basic building block of matter, and this means that this thing here is the simplest particle you can find in matter. Simplest particle you can find in matter. Matter, anything around you occupying space is matter. Now we do have models of the atom, and there are so many scientists that worked on the atom, checking what it is, discovering a lot of things around it. But I've singled out 4 that are actually giving us the basics that we need to understand about atoms. Now the first one I'm going to talk about is John Dalton. There's going to be something about J.J. Thomson. I'm also going to talk about Ernest Rutherford. And lastly, I'll talk about Niels Bohr. All right? Now, at the beginning, when scientists were still trying to find out what matter consists of, we have scientists like John Dalton that came up with theories of what the atom could be like. And for Dalton, he understood that matter consists of small, hard, indivisible particles called atoms. That's where he started. And he said these atoms will be the same for the same elements. In other words, they are identical. If we're talking about atoms of hydrogen, for example, they should be the same in all respect, according to John Dalton. He also says that these atoms, now I think here he was referring to how they react together. He said atoms combine with each other in simple whole number ratios. And lastly, he's saying compounds consist of 2 or more atoms. Now, he had an idea that when atoms come together, they would bond, which is something we're still going to talk about later on, and form something new. And that something new was called a molecule, called a compound. Okay, so atom, single particle, 2 or more atoms bonded together, joined together, will give you what we call a compound, according to John Dalton. Let's have a look at what J.J. Thomson said. J.J. Thomson looked at the atom as well, and what he did, which is very important, he made a discovery that an atom actually consists of particles called electrons, and these particles are negatively charged. He found out that at around 1897. Well, somebody would say this is not history. What is the year? What is the significance of 1897? There's a year. Now we need to know, even in science, how things developed. Here we're looking at how an atom was found, was discovered, and how the theory around atoms developed. Okay, so around 1897, J.J. Thomson discovered that we do have negatively charged particles called electrons. He also saw that an atom would consist of these negative particles called electrons. It will also have positive particles inside itself, and these 2 particles will be evenly distributed around it. What does that mean? It means if that represents an atom, you have positive, minus, positive, positive, minus, 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 positive, positive, in that way. All these particles, positively and negatively charged particles, distributed evenly on that sphere or on that object, on that structure of the atom. That's how he looked at the atom, and that was J.J. Thomson, right? And next we have Ernest Rutherford. Okay, Ernest Rutherford, he contributed so much into this theory of an atom. He says these electrons that J.J. Thomson discovered would occupy the greatest volume of the atom. In other words, where the electrons are found, that is where the size of the of the atom is determined. And he also realized that positive particles are clustered together in a central part of an atom called the nucleus. Okay, so instead of what J.J. Thomson, what John Dalton came up with like that, with, a structure like that with evenly spread positive and negative charges, Ernest Rutherford says there will be a central part which is occupied by positively charged particles called protons, and all around it, it will be electrons. Okay, that's what he found out. He says here that the nucleus is very small, but it is massive. That is very important to understand. It's a very small central part of the atom, but it is massive. The positive particles in the central part of the atom are called protons. So we call them protons. All right, now come Niels Bohr. Niels Bohr says the electrons are in continuous motion around the nucleus. So they are moving around the nucleus, and they are found in levels that he called energy levels. Okay, and in those energy levels, those electrons are found inside some things called orbitals. All right, and electrons with the same energy would move in the same energy level, and energy levels further away from the nucleus will have higher energy state. So electrons occupying those energy levels higher above the other energy levels, say that one, they would have more energy than this one here, when that is your nucleus. Now that is the basic overview of what an atom is and where the whole theory comes from, how it was discovered, how the knowledge built up came about, and until we get to a point that an atom would consist of negatively charged particles that are orbiting around the nucleus. The nucleus is at the center of the atom with positively charged particles, and actually we also have a third particle there called a neutron. So in the central part of the atom, we have the protons and neutron. And we know that the central part is small but massive. That is important to know.